This is an exhibition of 3 or 4 of my books. 2 of them are the 2 most recent ones I've done. We've also in here got a few of the really old ones from more than 10 years ago, I think. This is one of my recent books called One Smart Fish. And it's a watercolour, but I have used coloured pencil and pen and ink too in this one. What was fun was that they are all different. I mean, there were sort of several spreads where you had to have the same fish occurring again. But rather than doing the same fish on every of these sort of 4 or 5 spreads, I put in a load of new ones in every spread too, because it was more fun to invent fish, because they're all inventing these fish. You know. And this idea I had a long time ago, well, years and years ago, and it's just this idea of this really clever fish who's clever in all the other fish in the ocean and thinks of all these different clever things. But I didn't really know how to finish this story and what it was really about. It wasn't until years later, about a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, that I finally had the idea and realised what the story should be about. And we'll come to that later on, actually. We've got some pictures from my story, Ferocious Wild Beasts. And here they are. Not looking terribly fresh, looking very frightened, because in actual fact, they're all wandering through the forest, wondering what the ferocious wild beast is. At this point here, the little boy is describing what his mother has told him, the ferocious wild beast's like. And the elephant's asking, what is this beast like? And the little boy's saying, it's so big, it can step on you and squish you, just like that. Well, this one's from my story, Animal Train. As you can see, we've got animals on a little toy train. This was done with coloured pencils. The thing about coloured pencils, doing it with this sort of technique, it takes ages. You sort of have to build up the colour, like the blue sky is built up with loads of different various tones of blue, and over again, sort of colouring in and colouring in, especially when you get all this fruit, which is all takes sort of an awful long time to. So it's one of the reasons I changed to watercolours, because it just took so long doing this. Here's actually some of the sketches I did for that book, for those books. And you can see what they start off. This is what it starts off like. I made a sort of dummy book, sewed together a few pages, and did the drawings. They're actually on very dark paper. At that time I didn't like drawing on white paper. I found white intimidating for some reason. I don't know why. But as you can see, this is more or less as the pictures are in the story, except all the words have changed, I think. And if you look at the bottom one here, you can actually see the way it turned out, which is this is the picture we have over there. But in the dummy, I've got them going around the other way. I think in my mind, because half the book they're actually going to the town. And I thought, well, logically, you turn the train around and they'd go back from the town. But of course, as you turn pages of the book, it's always best to have the train or have the sort of movement going from left to right. And it seemed wrong that it was going from right to left, so that's why I turned it around, even though logically they should have been going the other way because they're going back from the town. But anyway. These pictures here are from another of my children's books. This is a more recent one. And this is done with watercolour and ink rather than the coloured pencil, which was already there. And the reason I started using the ink really was so that I could pick out these little mice, because there's 6 white mice in the story all the way through, and they needed sort of the details of their little hands and tails and ears and things. So that's why I used the pen and ink to sort of pick that out closely, precisely. Okay, now we're back with my story, One Smart Fish. And this is how I finally resolved the story and decided what it was going to be about. It's going to be about evolution, because our smart fish, he invents feet, see, and climbs out of the sea. And although he isn't the actual fish who evolves into all these other things, he's the one who had the idea, and other fish copied it. And here they are, coming out of the ocean here, and turning into reptiles, and all the creatures in the world, all of them, right down to, in this corner, us, human beings, you see. And this is another reason I use the pen and ink technique, because there's so much sort of detailed little animals here. They had to be picked out carefully with pen and ink, else you wouldn't be able to see them, really. So that was the end of the story, really. It was evolution. And the last spread down here, we see our smart fish. We go back in time to our smart fish, who's just thought of another idea.